Welcome back. Today, we're looking at a critical analysis focused on Episode 2, The Hong Kong Standstill, from the Titanverse Chronicles.
Right. This analysis dives into the strategy and characters, specifically that tense moment where the GDF has to team up with Quake-Wing against the Krak-Os swarm.
Exactly. Let's get straight into the feedback. Okay, first up, completeness and focus. The critique rightly notes that the Hong Kong Standstill is this major strategic pivot. It takes the story from just, planetary defense
To something much more complex. Kaiju geopolitics, essentially.
That's definitely the strength.
It absolutely is.
But I do wonder if the speed kind of works against it. I mean, the narrative moves incredibly fast here. Quake-Wing's hitting Mach 3.
Right. And we go from that desperate survival fight in Tokyo in Episode 1 to suddenly forming an alliance in Episode 2. Does that big realization that Titans have territories land properly? It feels maybe a bit too quick.
I think that's the core weakness identified here. The sheer cost of that paradigm shift maybe isn't felt enough. The audience, and maybe even the GDF command, seem to accept this huge change almost too easily.
Yeah, it needs more weight.
So the suggestion is really about bolstering that moment. We need to see the struggle, emphasize the difficulty, the intellectual price of figuring this out. Basically, slow down that discovery process in the command room. Make the audience feel that grind.
Exactly. It's not just about getting the answer. It's about the resistance to the answer. We should probably focus on the cognitive dissonance, The GDF's whole mission is being turned on its head. So let's make Dr. Tanaka's struggle more explicit. Maybe show him trying to fit Quake-Wing's sonic scream into an attack pattern, and the data just refuses. It doesn't fit the old model.
Right. Before the scream actually shatters the Krak-Os hive mind. That makes the eventual realization feel earned.
Yeah, and we could maybe lean more on Dr. Thorne's initial assessment that the creature isn't hostile, just agitated, panicked.
And Tanaka could initially dismiss that, right? Because it clashes with the kill all Titans directive he's operating under. He clings to the old rules.
Yes. Make him fight the data until it's just undeniable. That moment where he finally says it's defending its territory shouldn't feel like a simple deduction. It should feel like intellectual surrender.
Painful, even.
Painful. He has to accept that this monster is now a strategic piece on the board. That changes him, too. He goes from just analyzing data to thinking geopolitically.
And that institutional struggle, that painful shift, leads directly into the personal cost for the commanders. Which brings us nicely to tone and style, particularly with Major Rostova.
Ah, Rostova, yeah.
The analysis points out that the emotional restraint the situation demands of her, forcing her to violate her own doctrine, is a fantastic opportunity to really deepen her moral ambiguity.
It really is the heart of the episode, emotionally speaking. We know her backstory, right? The trauma from hesitating before, the ferry disaster that caused.
Yeah, it's explicitly shown flashing in her eyes when that other ferry gets swamped by the Krak-Os here.
Exactly, and her whole mantra now is never hesitate again. But then, faced with Quake-Wing and the swarm, her hand actually freezes.
That's the contradiction.
Right, that paralysis and then the decision she makes after that to ally with the Titan, it needs maybe tighter synthesis to really hit home.
Well, the potential weakness is that she hesitates again, despite her trauma about hesitation. But then this hesitation sort of leads to the solution? It feels a bit neat.
It lets her off the hook too easily, maybe.
So the suggestion needs to focus on making sure the audience feels the personal price she pays for survival. That choice she makes providing fire support for the Terran monster needs to be framed as this conscious, devastating rejection of her core belief.
Yeah, it has to show that necessity, that complexity, is overriding her need for vengeance, her dogma.
We need that scene to land harder, emotionally.
Absolutely. Let's really zoom in on that moment. She sees the ferry capsize. Her hand freezes over the controls. But her next action shouldn't be pulling back or just freezing. It needs to be a deliberate, agonizing choice.
Choosing to protect Quake-Wing, the thing she was probably about to target from the Krak-Os swarm.
Yes! Using her limited firepower to break the swarm's hive mind instead of hitting the Terran Titan, even as the ferry is in danger.
That's brutal. Because she's knowingly breaking her oath about protecting civilians by shifting focus to the monster to achieve a strategic goal.
Precisely. Frame it not as a tactical relief like, phew, we survived, but as a grim, pragmatic, almost political choice. A necessary evil. It shouldn't feel good.
It should feel like a crisis of identity for her. She survives, yes, but she had to become someone who makes that calculated, painful choice over the morally pure one.
And that defines the complexity of the Titanverse, doesn't it?
It really does. And speaking of calculated choices, that brings us to the other big player here, Quake-Wing itself. Let's look at the angle and originality lens.
Okay.
The critique praises the framing of Quake-Wing, this crystalline harpy thing, as both a terrifying threat and a kind of reluctant savior. It's a strong move that immediately sets up Titans as these strategic, territorial beings.
It's a fantastic concept, really sets the tone. But does the payoff feel slightly retroactive? Like, we see its terrifying Mach 3 sonic distortions, the whole deal.
But its role as a strategic actor feels like it's only confirmed when Tanaka puts the label on it, defending its territory.
Right. We're told it's strategic, more than we see it being strategic in the moment, perhaps?
So the issue is maybe that the intelligence, the purpose, is delivered via dialogue in the command center rather than through its actions on the battlefield first.
Yeah, kinetically.
So the suggestion should probably be about grounding Quake-Wing's intelligence earlier. Link its look, its sound, its actions more directly to its defensive motives from the get-go. Make the tension feel more like a first contact scenario almost. Think Arrival, maybe.
I like that comparison. We need to see the strategy in the spectacle. For example, emphasize how its shriek isn't just loud, it specifically shatters their coordination.
Focusing on the effect.
Exactly. That implies it understands the Krak-Os hive mind. It's not just random noise, it's targeted disruption. That immediately frames it as surgical, intentional, not just a wild force.
Makes it less of an environmental hazard, more of a tactical player. Okay.
Yeah. And we could also re-examine its exit, that short, sharp cry before it vanishes.
Instead of just fleeing?
Right. Frame it not as escape, but as a deliberate withdrawal, maybe even a signal. It reinforces its status as a thinking actor, not just a spooked animal.
Got it. It leaves the GDF and us thinking they just had an interaction with something intelligent and potentially hostile on its own terms.
Exactly. It's chilling. It feels calculated.
Okay, this has been a really productive breakdown of how Episode 2 fundamentally shifts the Titanverse. So, just to recap the actionable suggestions for the listener, we hit 3 main areas.
Right. First, clarifying that strategic pivot making the GDF struggle to adapt more palpable.
Second, maximizing the emotional cost of Rostova's choice, making her alliance a truly difficult, personally violating decision.
And third, establishing Quake-Wing's intelligence much earlier and more kinetically in the sequence.
And the ways to implement those really emphasize the GDF's institutional resistance, the intellectual price of understanding this new reality.
Make Rostova's choice genuinely agonizing. Force her against her own code and trauma. Don't let it feel easy.
And use the visual and sonic details, Thorn's initial readings, the way Quake-Wing attacks the swarm's coordination, its final cry, use all that to show its intelligence, so Tanaka's realization feels like confirmation, not revelation.
Yeah, it's about earning that big narrative shift, visually and emotionally.
Absolutely. It justifies the episode's ambition.
It does.
Ultimately, the Hong Kong Standstill doesn't end the war, it changes what war means. We hope this critique provides some useful directions. As always, we invite you to rework the material and submit it again.